Hello, good evening, and welcome. Tonight's story comes from Scotland, and it is the tale of the good wife of Laggan. So, sit back, dim down the lights, give me your full attention, and I'll begin. In the Scottish Highlands there once lived a fearless hunter. Legend tells that he drove the devil from Kingessie and banished Lam Dehaig, the ghost of Glenmore Forest, from Loch Marie to Loch Erne. No witch or demon could prevail against the hunter of Bednoch, for he and his faithful hounds were devoted to ridding the Highlands of Satan and all his disciples. One evening, while roaming the hills on his crusade, a storm swept in from the sea, and he was forced to take shelter in a herdsman's hut. When darkness descended, he lit a fire and settled there for the night. He was awakened from his sleep when the dogs growled at a scratching on the door. He quieted them and listened. Then it came again, a clawing and scratching, followed by a plaintive cry, clearly audible above the howling wind and the rain lashing against the roof. When he opened the door, there was nothing to be seen. A black cat, however, unseen in the darkness, slid past him and moved towards the warmth of the fire. The dog's ears pricked again, and they sprang forward, sniffing around in confusion, because the intruder could not be found. After a time, the hunter shrugged his shoulders and returned to his bundle of straw, and the dog settled down again at his feet. While they all slept, the cat emerged from the shadows and sat before the fire, licking a paw to groom its fur. Had he awakened again, the hunter of Bednoch would have been astonished to watch the creature transform, each moment growing taller, standing on its hind legs and arching its back, its fur trailing to the floor. Whiskers and tail vanished as its proportions increased, until now it was the silhouette of a woman who stood there, wearing a poke bonnet and flowing gown. It was the dogs that sensed her presence, snarling and baring their teeth. They held the intruder at bay against the wall, besides the fire. Their master stared in disbelief to see a woman kicking at the dogs, her arms raised before her face. "Pity, sir," he heard her cry. "Call them off. I mean you no harm." He grasped the animals by their scruffs, one in each hand, while the woman shuffled into the firelight. When the flames lit up her face, he gasped in surprise, recognizing her as the good wife of Laggan, a meek old woman known for her virtue and her kindness to neighbours who lived in a nearby village. "Hold them fast," she cried again. "I came in only to shelter from the storms. Tie your dogs to the beam where they cannot break free." From under her gown she drew a rope with which he could fasten them. It was long and coarse, like pleated strands of hair. "Fasten them tight," she urged. "They are wild with the scent of my blood." The hunter wound the rope around the dog's neck and hitched it to a beam, but suspicious of her wandering after dark and the woman's mysterious appearance there, he tied the knot loosely. When this was done, the beasts were held at bay. Fear was gone from the eyes of the good wife of Laggan. Instead, they burned with hate, and her manner became menacing. I seek you out in the devil's name, she threatened, hissing like a snake poised to strike. This morning in the loch I drowned one who has long persecuted the servants of our master, the Prince of Darkness. Now your hour has come. With her fingers crooked like talons, she flew at the hunter's throat. With a cry he fell back, fighting to fend off her ferocious attack. In their master's defence, the dogs leapt forward towards the witch, breaking the knots which fastened them. In a fury they tore at the gown of the witch until blood streamed from her arm. Hold fast, she shrieked, and the plaited strands of hair twisted so tightly around the beam that the timber smouldered, but the dogs were free to snap and snarl, despite her kicking and clawing. The witch's struggle to fight them off was all in vain. Torn and bleeding, she cursed the beasts and retreated towards the fire. There her tattered gown fell in a heap, and from beneath its folds a raven took flight, squawking and fluttering into the breast of the chimney. When the storm was over, the hunter made his way in haste to the village. There he found the good wife of Laggan lying in her bed, with anxious neighbours gathered around. That evening she had been wandering the hills in search of peace, but it was long after nightfall before she returned, wild-eyed and breathless. A witch is here amongst us, the hunter declared, pulling back the blanket to reveal her bleeding limbs. He told the startled neighbours of his encounter in the herdsman's shack, and of her confessed homage to the Prince of Darkness. At night, at the doorway the dogs' hackles rose, for now it was not the good wife of Laggan who stared at them from the bed. The witch's eyes burned like candle flames, her lips twisted in a devilish grimace. Screeching with laughter, she cursed all those who gathered around her bed, and called out an entreaty to the evil one. Possessed with fear and anger, the neighbours bound the hag to her bed, stifled her screams with a pillow, and burnt her where she lay.